bottle they fly for everywhere. I don't know how you see the bottles of me. I see man. The thing plenty. This one, this gist, in fact, if you know sit down and stand, you say, I bet make you sit down. Make you watch this video from the beginning to the end. This one will interest you. This one concern the INEC chairman. Not that the INEC chairman when I mean left for it. So that the INEC chairman, because right now he don't they cry. INEC chairman don't they cry. Area, I salute to now, not too much. Not too much. Area, all the updates, not too much. See, this is the end road for INEC chairman. This one are the end road for him. You know why? Even the INEC people, their head on the jam. They don't talk, say, man, as it be so, INEC chairman is on his own. You need to come address Nigerians. They can't tell Nigerians what happen. You say because for them, they don't say something happen. They don't say INEC chairman get out for inside this matter. Now the matter that will come bring, come give us so I bet you know go anywhere, carry your chair. Make you watch this video from the beginning to the end because this one too sweet though. I'm not getting there. My people, I beg, I just go back good night. See this video, court case not sweet like this. See, Obi, anyway that man, they God go bless him. The man get see they do it thing. He go they do he go bless him, no they do anything. They say na plasma now bring on court. If you not see video evidence, even INEC chairman see him, they say they will look into it. If you not see evidence, see the engineer we Obigo bring come out. They say this engineer, in fact, he look BVAS. He talks and nothing they wrong with this BVAS. Maybe they ask INEC chairman what he do because the whole thing, the INEC people they try their best, but the case is going against them right now. INEC people don't they admit say something happened. And the something way happen now. I want to tell you so. I want to show that the video. What I can see what happen. And they watch this video and they dance and they shake and they talk. Say God, you do well, oh. Baba, you do well. Baba, you do well. Baba, you do well. You do well. They say they cancel the election. They say make they cancel the election. So there is nothing like 2023 presidential election. I am gonna watch this video. I want to sit down here. This time, I want to sit down here with my coffee, drink.
Copy of the report. I have not gone through the report. I will take a copy of the report back to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the national commissioners for them to read the report and digest issues in the report. From our own point of view, in the next few weeks, the Commission will begin comprehensive review and evaluation of the 2023 general election. After every major election, the Commission conducts both internal and external review and evaluation of both the conduct and management of elections. So we are in the process of finalizing on that. Civil society groups and organizations will be a major plank of this review. Political parties will be a major plank of this review. The National Union of Road Transport Workers will be a major plank of this review. All our electoral officers will be a major plank of this review. And collation and returning officers will also be a plank of this particular review. So that review will take place in the next few weeks. We are finalizing on that particular review. Secondly, I'm slightly constrained commenting on some of the issues that have been raised. Because some of the issues that have been raised here will be part of the review process that the Commission will carry out. Not only that, some of the issues that have been raised here are part of the issues before the various election petition tribunals and also part of the issues before the Presidential Election Tribunal. So I will find it very, very difficult to comment on some of the issues that have been raised. But let me say this, that one, as civil society groups and organizations, we have a responsibility to remain non-partisan no matter the interests at stake. We owe that to the Nigerian people and we owe that to the society at large. Before the 2023 general election, individuals, groups, and political parties claimed victory for an election that had not taken place. Let me repeat that before the 2023 general elections, individuals, groups, organizations, and political parties claimed victory for an election that had not taken place. So when the elections took place, they wanted a validation of what they had already made up their minds should be. And some of us within the civil society groups and organizations lent credence to this particular perception, and that created a lot of challenges. My third issue is that we still need a lot of education on the collation and result management process within the law, within the ambit of the law. Because some of us in civil society groups and organizations who did not have a good knowledge of the election collation process and result management process also assisted in making sure that people did not have good knowledge. And because some people didn't have good knowledge of the collation and result management process, they went to town and reduced the entire conduct and management of the 2023 general election to result upload. And I believe that we cannot, under any circumstance whatsoever, and under any guise, reduce the entire election only to result management or result upload. So if there was no problem with the senatorial election, and there was no problem with the election to the House of Representatives, there was no problem with the governorship election, there was no problem with the state assembly elections, you cannot then write off the entire election as a sham. So I think that when we are sober, when we reflect much properly, we will find out that there are a lot of positives to take away from this election. Most of us have not seen people complaining about BVAS having malfunction in several places. Rather, people say that the BVAS performed optimally. So if BVAS performed optimally, what that means is that the accreditation process was top-notch. Now, election results are announced at the polling unit level. Over 7 political parties applied for accreditation for their polling agents or party agents, and they deployed to over 170,000 polling units. So what that means is that in all the places where they deployed, they were entitled to a copy of Form EC8A, which is the polling unit level result. So before you can begin to reduce the entire election to result upload, you must also compare what you have from your party agents at the polling unit level with what has been uploaded. It is when you have contradiction and when you have challenges with that you can begin to write off the electoral process. So I think that we need to soberly and rationally reflect on the 2023 general elections, and when we do, you will find out that never in the history of elections in Nigeria have sitting governors lost senatorial elections, which is 1/3 of the voting strength in a state. On the issue of electoral offenders, in the next few days, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission will address the nation on the issue of electoral offenders. So I don't want to say anything on that. The chairman will address the nation any moment from now on the issue of electoral offenders. I completely agree that we need to look at the work that the commission does. The chairman of the commission went to the National Assembly and canvassed that Nigeria must have an electoral offences commission and tribunal to deal with the issue of electoral offenders. Till now, that has not been given vent to. So the Commission does not have anything against the unbundling of certain aspects of our work so that we can become more efficient and so that we can become more professional. But in the main, we must also know and agree that elections are conducted by Nigerians. The total staff strength in the Commission is less than 15,000. For the 2023 general election, the Commission deployed over 1.5 million ad hoc staff. These ad hoc staff are Nigerians. These are core members. These are students in federal tertiary institutions in their penultimate year. So it is unlikely that on election day, you will see an INEC staff who is a permanent staff in any polling unit. So it's Nigerians who are the ones who conduct the elections. So in analyzing and looking at the 2023 general election, we must look at the context and environment of the election. We must look at the context and environment of the election. There were so many polling units where the Commission could not deploy on account of security challenges. So many of our staff were killed even during the CVR process. The Commission has been mandated constitutionally and legally to organize, undertake, and supervise election. The responsibility of protecting the electoral environment does not rest with the Commission. So I think that there are a lot of positives from the election. There are also challenges from the election. Based on those challenges, we are going to look at the reports from domestic and international election observers. We're also going to look at reports from political parties. We're also going to look at reports from our own electoral officers, from collation officers, and returning officers. And we are going to see whether there are issues and things that we can deal with administratively, and we deal with those ones. We can also see whether there are still issues that demand both legal and constitutional change or reform. Then we will go before the appropriate organ of government and deal with those ones. But I want, on behalf of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, to commend civil society groups and organizations on the work that was done around the 2023 general election. And I believe that on no account must we give up on this country. It is because people expected a finished product. Democracy is not a finished product. People expected a finished product. That was why there were a lot of disappointments. But if we believe that the electoral process must continue to increase incrementally, we will not write off an entire electoral process, because the moment you write off the electoral process, the moment you write off democracy, what we are now saying is that anti-democratic forces should come and take over, and that can never be part of our docket. So I want to commend my sister Enobi, who is completing her tenure. I'm going to deploy our staff to monitor the civil society elections. BVAS will be deployed for purposes of voter accreditation and verification, and then there will be result upload after this election. So the plea is that we never give up on this country, and we should never give up on democracy.
I see a number of donor agencies and development partners and international non-governmental organizations here. I acknowledge you and all distinguished members of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room and very distinguished members of the press. It has been a journey with all of you, and I acknowledge you. As we start up this morning, we have come a long way, and we're really, really excited that finally we are going to be presenting the final report of the 2023 general elections. And this has come as a result of the hard work by each and every member of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, the hard work, the support that we have gotten from the development partners, and their personal, almost personal support, and also the financial support that we have gotten, and the solidarity as well. So I want to welcome you and say that today we'll be presenting our final report, It is not the end. The struggle is continuing. We have to have a talk. And it is for the first time that we are sitting with the INEC commissioner face to face after the election. Is that after the storm, storms never last forever. After the storm, we have to pick up our pieces. But I'm happy that we send an invitation and he's here with us because we have to start talking again. General election. The situation room's observation and analysis of the 2023 general election indicates that the election fell short of the credibility threshold set out by the situation room itself. Situation room had expected that the innovative reforms introduced by INEC in furtherance of the new Electoral Act 2022 will lead to efficient and accountable election management, together with effective monitoring of the political parties' campaign process, improve access to polling units, hitch-free accreditation and voting, and effective violence mitigation. Contrary to these expectations, the 2023 general election was marred by very poor organization, severe logistical and operational failure, lack of essential electoral transparency, and substantial disruption of voting, and several incidents of violence. As a result, the process cannot be considered to have been credible. Given the lack of transparency, particularly in the result collation process, there can be no confidence in the results of the election. In addition, there was very poor communication from INEC on challenges with its processes on the election day. In the light of these shortcomings, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room believes that additional reforms and improvements are required to ensure that the quality of official elections in Nigeria does not further decline, and that public confidence in the capacity of INEC to conduct elections is restored. Because right now, I can tell you, while trust in the credibility of elections itself needs to be reestablished, the following recommendations and improvements in the election management body and the electoral process are offered for consideration and possible implementation of election stakeholders in Nigeria, by election stakeholders in Nigeria. In terms of the legal framework, the Constitution should be amended to eliminate the position of resident electoral commissioners under the control and direction of the Commission through the appointment of state directors of elections to replace REC. The suggestion by Justice Uwe's committee for the unbundling of INEC should be considered and implemented without delay. An effective legal framework should be formulated for the establishment of the Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal, Political Parties Registration and Regulation Commission, and an agency to handle constituency delimitation. Proposed amendment to the Constitution should include issues critical to the inclusiveness of the electoral process, such as endorsement of early voting for election day workers, independent candidacy, and voting by Nigerians in diaspora in conformity with international principles for democratic process. Any further amendment to election legislation should be enacted sufficiently in advance of elections to provide political parties, candidates, and voters adequate time to become informed of the new rules of the election process. In terms of election administration, as a practice, INEC should institute a process of post-election audits to enable the Commission to understand and account for the lapses during election and to undertake measures to prevent future occurrence of the lapses. With regards to the 2023 general election, INEC should conduct the following: an audit of the polling units where elections did not take place to establish the reasons for the failure, an audit to provide to the public details of the process leading to the result that it collated for the election, an audit to provide to the public information on why INEC result viewing portals malfunctioned despite assurances. If many of you can remember, we asked questions severally and nobody responded on why the INEC did not function, and we were assured and reassured in this house. The second is to improve election administration. The National Assembly should be more vigorous in undertaking its oversight role over INEC and the electoral process. Pre- and post-election legislative scrutiny of the implementation of the Electoral Act and other legislations by INEC should be conducted regularly. The National Assembly should be more forthright and dispassionate in performing its roles of confirming, appointees to the positions in INEC. Petitions or complaints against nominees should be thoroughly and satisfactorily considered and investigated. Noting that operational and logistic lapses have been a persistent challenges to the elections in Nigeria. Despite assurances of its readiness by INEC, the National Assembly, within its oversight role, should set up an independent readiness assurance investigation to ascertain the level of preparations before major elections. To further address the operational and logistics lapses, INEC should make thorough planning, a key priority. And I want to state that we actually thought INEC was prepared. I think this would have been one of the best elections. But whatever happened, we have not been communicated because we were involved in the planning process, and so many NGOs and INGOs did a lot of things to make sure that we had one of the best elections. We are asking that you ensure full implementation of and strict adherence to the strategic plan, electoral project plan, and also election management systems. Also to take up other necessary measures to strengthen its procurement, logistics, and operational capacity. As an additional measure to address operational and logistic lapses, INEC should ensure a much greater compliance with election procedures at all levels and introduce measures to reduce inconsistencies in their implementation. The Commission should focus more attention on ensuring institutional cohesion and sound communication amongst its staff. INEC should address its operational challenges by improving the capacity of its staff through robust learning programs and timely training. INEC should design and implement mock elections, mock election exercises to practice procedures such as filing out result sheets and use of technological devices. The Commission should make its training manuals user-friendly to reflect the realities of the election management and be widely available to staff and stakeholders. To further improve the transparency of results management and the process, INEC should devise a more robust internal result verification mechanisms to be put in place before the official proclamation of the winners. There should be clear instructions for the collation and returning officers regarding and correction of calculation errors to eliminate the arbitrary handling of numeric inconsistencies in the result sheets. 10 is that INEC was not effective in its crisis management, and communication during the 2023 general elections. In the future, the Commission should be more detailed, regular, and progressive in its crisis communication. In fact, they were almost not communicating at all. The election day workers constitute a significant number of the citizens who should be voting but do not vote due to election duty. They include ad hoc staff, INEC staff, security officials, and observers. In the future, early voting should be put in place to enable this category of Nigerians vote a few days to the election in sufficient time to travel to their places of posting. Now, on voter registration and PVC collection, the task of compiling and managing the National Register of Voters should be entrusted with the body nationally charged with population data management in the country. It is therefore proposed that the National Population Commission should be given the responsibility of extracting the National Voters Register from its population database and be further charged with updating and including the names of persons that attain the voting age. A system that will monitor and report on the integrity of the National Register of Voters created through this process will also need to be put in place. In the period INEC has responsibility for keeping the National Register of Voters, the Commission should, 1, should improve the register by devising transparent and systematic ways of eliminating dead registrants from the voter. It should ensure that it resumes the continuous voter registration exercise well ahead of general elections or off-cycle elections. Since the voter information no longer resides in the permanent voters' cards in future elections, INEC should consider abolishing the use of PVC and introduce the use of alternative means of identification such as national identity card, international passport, or driver's license. This will reduce the cost of elections in Nigeria. In conclusion, the Situation Room will continue to play a critical role of engaging Nigeria's democratic process to achieve the needed reforms. To this end, Situation Room expects that the new regime in Nigeria will continually and earnestly respond to the challenges of the democratic development and good governance confronting the country. Situation Room wishes to express profound appreciation to the United Kingdom, the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, for its wholehearted support for the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room work, especially towards the 2023 general election and the other off-cycle elections. Our gratitude also to the team of experts who joined in doing the analysis for the election. In addition, a Situation Room is grateful to the individual experts that constituted its steering committee, the organizations, and also the various platforms, the Situation Room platforms, and several other individuals, organizations, and partners that supported the work of the Situation Room. We wish to express our thanks to all our field observers across Nigeria, all the experts, all the volunteers, the staff, and the media organizations, all the journalists who devoted their time and knowledge to the success of the Situation Room engagement of the electoral process. To the other development partners, the European Union, USAID, UNDP, NDI, IRI, the various embassies across the country, we wish to, and others too numerous to mention, we wish to, the labor movement as well, we wish to express our appreciation for the collaborative efforts and coordination of activities.
That the convener of the Civil Society Situation Room has read the statement of the Civil Society Situation Room. I don't have anything to add. It is a statement entirely endorsed by us, and it's a statement of the Civil Society Situation Room. We observed elections across the country. There is no doubt that everyone is disappointed with the process of the elections. It is not up to us as civil society to defend INEC. Our role as civil society is to say things as honestly and as impartially as we should. Ezema, please, I'm talking, and you cannot contradict our convener. I don't think it is appropriate. If you had nothing to say to the report, then you should just have not said anything. But please do not contradict our convener who has spoken on our behalf. If you have an alternative report, then look for a proper forum to address your reports to the public, but not on Situation Room's platform. So what you have said is completely inappropriate and unacceptable and should not be said in this forum. We do have our report from Situation Room. We have issued that report. We are glad that Festus Okoye, who has been part of the Situation Room, we called him co-convener because in reality, even though he wasn't co-convener in theory, when he was in Situation Room, he was very much a part of us, and we still continue to say that he's part of Situation Room. And we respect him tremendously as a very senior lawyer, but also as someone who has gone to INEC to represent us. Now, if INEC has a failing, we have not called out any individual in INEC. We have not called out any person to say that we are disappointed by their personal conduct. We are simply saying that the institution failed us. And if we are to move forward, it is that we take responsibility as Situation Room for even our own failings as Situation Room, but INEC also taking its own responsibility for its own failings. When that happens, then we can go forward. We cannot close our eyes to the fact that there were failings, and that if the 2027 elections, and I think it was Aja Oliver who was speaking, if the 2027 elections is to be an improvement on 2023, we must acknowledge what the failings have been. If we fail to acknowledge those failings, then I think we do have a challenge that 2027 will even be worse. So please, let's read the report for those who have not read it but are reaching conclusions. We do know that even with the security agencies, there were failings that were identified. It's acknowledged in this report. And the hope we all have is that this report and the report of other observer groups, including international organizations, and there are international organizations who have issued their own reports. We do not, as Situation Room, have a responsibility to speak for INEC. We collaborate with INEC, but we don't speak for INEC. And nobody in Situation Room should be speaking for INEC. That's not that responsibility of the individual.
The report. I know that a colleague asked a question about security. It's on page 29. If you see, we had a lot of recommendations also. If you go through the environment, we're very proud of all of you who went to the field. And that's why I say thank you to all of the volunteers. People volunteered. We didn't pay them. They volunteered and they were on the field. So across the country, and like Jim pointed out, people risked their lives to some of the dangerous areas. I think something that is very, very important is that, you know, we do know that when we went, we had more than 176,000 polling units. The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, we are not government. Government is paid to do the job. The INEC is paid for all the polling units that they were supposed to deploy. They were paid. Security was paid. And so if you want to conduct an audit, for the civil society organizations who are here present, the INGOs here present, before you get funding for anything that you do, you sweat it out. To write a presentable proposal, and so we cannot give ourselves more job. We need to demand for accountability. And that is why we say, if you said you were going to conduct, you know, in election in 176,000, over 176,000 polling units, how many did you conduct? We knew that by the general election, by midnight, so many polling units, people were still waiting on the line. So you need to be accountable, and so we need to demand accountability. Yes, the presidential upload, we all know, I think we all have gone through the time. Like I said, the storm is over. Our eyes are clear now, but we have to begin again. We have to hope, because as civil society organizations, you are the representatives. You are closer to the people. How do you go back to explain to them? I think after the election, you yourself, you needed to deal with your own psychology, your psychic itself. Has this happened or not? We all stood together before you go and explain to anybody, those who were believing in you. So we need to work together. No, yes, I don't want to say more, but I can defend myself anywhere. You cannot accuse any one of us of being partisan. You know, the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, we have so many members who are technically sound. They conducted, they had data. There is a lot of data everywhere on the issues that we have conducted. And they rolled it out. We had so many technical rooms during and after the elections. I think there was a flood in terms of if you are at the at Transcorp or all over the hotels, and we are proud of the job that everybody have done. So I say well done, a big well done to each and every one of you. When we ask INEC chairman to apologize, we say Nigerians feel the betrayal. Talk to people. You need to talk to people. That's what we're talking about. But to come here and talk about somebody being partisan, who are you accusing? We need to calm down with the things. We stand upright for Nigeria. You are in your own NGOs. How many data did you roll out? So roll it out. We have data all over. I want to commend all of you again, and I commend the Secretariat for the great job they have done. We can do better. We are still in a meeting. If we feel strong about anything, let's issue, a communique. But we have done a great job, and I did, and I can say that we have done a great job. We'll continue to stand upright for Nigeria.
This is Bod TV Bod. In case the first time you come here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more uploads.